Dave Lawrence here. We're pleased to welcome to the area a legendary artist who's been influential and associated with the careers of Eric Clapton, Jack Bruce, Mick Fleetwood, and countless others. We're presenting him this Thursday, January 16th at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center in Kahului, and this Friday, January 17th, around the corner from here in Honolulu at the Hawaiian Hut. He'll be with his Blues Breakers. It's a thrill to welcome him to the airwaves of 105.9 The Big Kahuna, the legend, John Mayall. Hey, John, thanks for calling in here.
Well, what a nice build-up.
And you're deserving of a nice build-up.
Yeah.
So you are coming through and going to do a number of shows in the area. What's going on? You have a new record out, Stories?
Yeah. The additional date that we have on the islands is the one in Kona, which is the day after Honolulu, so... people in Kona are getting this station. They should check that one out, too.
Yeah,
we have a new album, Stories, and the music that we're playing on the live shows now is pretty much 99% taken from the new album, so we're all thrilled about that.
And when the thing that most strikes me about getting to talk to you, John, is your prowess as a band leader. What is it about the way that you work with other musicians that draws the talent that you get?
Well, I don't know. It seemed to have come with the territory right from the beginning. I just feel very comfortable, leading bands. It kind of never kind of crossed my mind to be in another band, if you know what I mean. Because traditionally, I think blues singers are usually the leaders. So, what can I tell you? It's also something that I suppose comes from my, background of listening to not just blues, but a lot of jazz, too. People like Art Blakey and Duke Ellington and Count Basie and people like that have always been known to put their own stamp on their music, at the same time featuring lots of, I won't say up-and-coming, but featured players who have made their own names.
No, absolutely, and I would say you have sort of evolved things as a band leader, and I would ask, where would you put Stories into your overall catalog?
Well, it does reflect, the band that we have now. Of course, Buddy Whittington is very much an integral part of the band's sound, and also now Tom Canning on organ helps to make the sound that you're hearing. So it was. Buddy's been with me for the last 8 years now. Joey Whaley has been with me for 18 years. So, out of a long-term relationship, you do get to settle into something that's recognizable as the sound of the times.
So something then, I'm getting it, the evolution comes also with your relationship growing with the co-musicians in the band.
Exactly, yeah.
And how has things, when you go to write and go for a record now, all these years after coming out with so many different things, how is it that you decide on a track listing, or how is it that you come up with the inspiration that you find?
Well, there are submissions from songwriters which usually come to me through the record company and various friends and whatever. So those are up for consideration. But, when I'm listening to something by another composer, it has to be something that I can identify with. Of course, the songs as I write myself, they just come from whatever ideas I have in my head as regards the subject matter at the time of putting the album together. So it doesn't really take that long. And on the Stories, the thing that kind of sets it apart is that we happen to have relationships with all the other composers on the album. With something like Southside Story was written by Fontaine Brown, who did Ain't No Brakeman on a previous album. My wife Maggie and keyboardist Tom Canning co-wrote The Witching Hour. Rick Vito, who used to be in the band for many years, he came up with Feels Just Like Home. Eric Bibb with Kokomo did World War Blues. See what I mean? Walter Trout also wrote one. And so this time there has been a connection with people we know.
So as a songwriter, and talking about the way you've sort of interacted with those others to create, How are you one of those guys who maybe brings around like a notepad and pen, and maybe when you have an idea, you have to get it down somewhere so that will be able to recall it and use it later? How does it work when you initially come up with something? You're like, yeah, I have an idea for something, a riff or.
It usually grows out of the subject matter. You know, if you have a story.
So from the lyrics, then.
Yeah. Well, before you even write the lyrics, just the subject.
Okay,
and
so
then you can kind of. Sometimes I will go to an instrument and play it on that to suggest the mood it would be, and then that gives you the meter, which gives you the clue to how the lyrics will be constructed. So, you know, it's different ways, different times. I can't read or write music, so usually if I write something, it's musically it has to be on a tape, so I'll make a tape of it.
And while you may not be able to read or write music, you're a multi-instrumentalist. So is there a way that you maybe would reach for one instrument and start to come up with the way that you want to lay out your subject, and then realize perhaps there's another, a different, maybe you'll switch from one to the next? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you know, the things come really, really quite quickly, and usually if I have an idea, it will be with an instrument in mind.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it'd be the guitar or keyboard, basically.
Right. Yeah. And every time I've seen you a number of times. I used to live in Boston for many, many years, and saw you there at the House of Blues and there at Mama Kin, and you would always be, just wailing away on the keyboard. And I, in my mind, would always just question, as you were coming up with ideas, which instruments you maybe favored.
Yeah, the keyboard is basically.
So you'll be sitting there when you generate this stuff.
Yeah, or standing.
Right, as you do in concert, right?
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, but I'm playing a lot more guitar live now, so I alternate. Guitar and the piano.
At your house, and when you're just kicking back writing stuff, John, do you stand too at the keyboard there?
Oh, I don't usually do much music at home.
Okay.
I never have done that. I usually save it till we get to the studio.
Even the writing of stuff.
Well, up to a point. I guess I must sit down at the piano just to knock out the chord sequence.
Along for the Ride, that was the previous one, correct?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, the lineup on that had some special guests, boy. Mick Taylor, Peter Green, Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons, Steve Miller, Otis Rush, Billy Preston, many, many others. It was something else, man.
Yeah, well, it was sponsored by the record company, who felt that they should have me do something to commemorate 40 years in the biz. So it was the core tracks were all with the current blues breakers, and then we just trotted those tapes over to England to add the English musicians with their solos, and then dropped by Chicago for an afternoon to pick up Shannon Curfman and Otis Rush. So it really came together very smoothly. Everything was pretty much live in the studio, and first or second takes at the most.
Sounds like a bit of globe-trotting to put it together.
Yeah, but like I say, it was pretty smooth because we had the complete album done in L.A. really before we set off, and then all it needed was to put the icing on the cake and play the tracks to the various guest stars, and they were allowed to hear it once and then plug in and put their solos on.
So tell me about having ZZ's Billy Gibbons on there. I'm a big ZZ fan, and tell me how it started, how you came up with, or he came up with, however it came to be that he was going to be on. Just guide me through a little bit of it.
Well, we've known Billy Gibbons for quite some years, and we've done several tours with ZZ Top, opening up for them on tour. So, we know him personally, and he just happened to be in L.A. at the time we were doing the album, and he just he knows David Z, the producer, fairly well, and he just he heard about this stuff going down and wanted to be a part of it. So, come on down, Billy.
And you just have that kind of attitude, don't you? That welcoming sort of vibe.
Yeah, definitely for people of his stature or anybody else in that I think would be useful for a certain track. I mean, that track that he's on was tailor-made for him. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely, but I think getting back to what I'm saying, my good friend John McDermott, who has worked with you, who works at Experience Hendrix, pointed out to me how much you're an embracer. You know, you welcome in other people because maybe it gets back to what we were talking about, your band leader thinking or whatever it would be. You pick out people, you have people, they gravitate towards you, and it really makes a contribution.
yeah, well, it's selfish really, because if I really get off on somebody's playing, it's a great thrill for me to just be able to call them up and say, come and play with us, because I get off on it.
That's what I mean. You're like the great welcomer.
Yeah, okay, that's another way of putting it.
Yeah, that's going to be that'll be the way. And that's the way in my mind it comes across.
Yeah, no, it's a big thrill for me. I get a kick out of hearing somebody else come in and wail with us.
And that's why, and I think that's what keeps people coming back to it too, John. I mean, listen to the way you talk about it, having someone come in and wail with us. The passion is it's amazing. There are guys who are half your age who have nowhere near your passion. The math there is startling.
Well, it's very nice of you to say so.
No, well, it's all true, and after seeing you live several times, I feel qualified to make that declaration. What was Steve Miller like to hang out with?
And well, there's another instance of somebody who heard about the project, and he flew himself in, got his own private jet. He flew himself in from Montana or wherever, and just had to be on it.
Wow! So let me get this straight. He heard that this was happening.
Yeah.
And realized that it was something he really wanted to do. And what did he do? He flew out there on his own arrangement?
Yes, he paid for his own hotel and just flew himself in. Came into the studio, and we paired him up with John McVie and Mick Fleetwood, and we did the song. So it was great.
Got to make you feel good.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Everybody does it for the love of it, and so that's the thing that hopefully is captured every time you go into the studio.
Is that other people are approaching it with that same passion that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
A few years back, I had the pleasure of seeing you on. I've been trying to, knowing that I was going to speak with you, I've been trying to recall some of the different times. There was one very memorable tour, and it was with Peter Green's band, also on the bill. Do you remember? You recall that tour not long ago, about 2000, 2001?
Yeah. Well, we did that. That started off as being a European tour. An English tour, and out of that we put together a CD which is available on our website, johnmayall.com, but it's currently out of print. It's sold out. Very popular item. But anyway, Peter and I teamed up again October, November this 2002. So we did another British tour together with his group and my group. So that was really, we did 40 dates in 39 days. So that was very spectacular. And so out of that one, we're getting another website CD in the works, which will be out in a few months. So, but yeah, definitely blazing away.
That was such a hot show, man. I really, really enjoyed that. It was. Where does your relationship with him begin?
Well, when I, first hired him in 1967, so we do go back a long way. Quite
a long way. Were you close with who was the guy who ended up in that Children of God cult? Jeremy Spencer? Do you remember?
Jeremy Spencer, yeah.
Were you friends with him or tight with him?
Well, not really. No, he was was kind of distant from. I never really had him as a friend.
Whatever happened to him?
I'm not really sure.
That's like one of those.
Next time you talk to Mick Fleetwood, perhaps you'll find out. Mick Fleetwood, incidentally, says he wants to come down to the Maui show, so.
No,
because he's on the islands right now.
Say that again.
Mick Fleetwood is coming down to the show in Maui.
May he get up and jam?
Maybe he will, or maybe he'll just like to sit there and enjoy it.
Yeah, well, either or would be fine.
Yeah,
that's a cool thing. That's a great thing also about playing here, John, is because Maui's just loaded with celebrities, man. When they all hear that you're going to be there, it's going to be hard for the rest of the folks to get tickets.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah, no, they're loaded over there. And another thing about you that I've always found fascinating is you're one of the many British musicians who, I guess you could say, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you fell in love with living in the U.S. You moved here a long time ago to L.A., correct?
Yeah, in 1969.
What drew you in the first place?
Well, like you say, it was the climate and the whole culture, American culture. You know, bearing in mind that that's where the music came from, and I'd always, you know, been into American literature and movies. So, you know, once I came over here, I felt like I belonged.
Wow. So it went beyond just the blues. It was an American cultural connection.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
And the climate. Let's not forget the sunshine.
And while we're on the sunshine tip, real quick, have you been to Hawaii before?
Oh yeah.
Bunches of times.
Yeah. Somebody was interviewing me for one of the newspapers this week, and I think we arrived at the first time I was over there was the HIC Stadium Arena, whatever.
Yep.
Was 1971 or something like that.
Wow.
Might have been 1970. So around that time,
Man.
Cheech and Chong opened up for us.
Did they really?
Yes, that shows you how far back that was.
What a great memory. That's great, man. I mean, just to share that. Cheech and Chong and John Mayall and the Blues Breakers at the HIC in 1971.
Yeah, I think it was earlier, because it was with the John Mark, Johnny Arm and the drummerless formation.
So it was earlier than 71?
Yeah, it had to be 69, 70, around there.
Man, that is something else. John, of all the blues legends who were your heroes or influences, which ones were the most memorable that you got to meet? Because you got to, throughout your career, the people that you grew up loving and really being influenced by, you got to associate with.
Yeah, people like Otis Spann, Muddy Waters, Sonny Boy Williamson, Freddie King, and J.B. Lenore, you know. But there weren't too many I didn't meet who were my top favorites, you know, so it's quite a long list.
John Lee Hooker was a very close friend of yours, correct?
Yeah, because when he first came to do an English tour, a club tour, you know, we backed him up. That was 1964.
Wow.
And we go back that far.
I saw one of his very last shows. It was in your neighborhood too, so to speak. It was in the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center in May of 2001, and it was Etta James and John Lee double bill.
Wow, great.
Yeah, it was a treat to see. And I'll let you go in just a moment here, but we talked about Mick Fleetwood. You say is going to be possibly jumping up on stage, but likely stopping by the Maui show. Are you clued in on this new Fleetwood Mac record by any chance? Is there anything you can share with me about it?
No, I don't know anything about it really. I haven't spoken to Mick for quite a while, but he called me up just last week about the gig. But no, I haven't really kept in touch with what he's been up to, because we've been kind of busy, and like I say, we had that big tour of England that took up all of October, November.
No, I understand.
So, we'll catch up with him next week.
Yeah, well, you definitely you let him know if he wants an outlet to talk about the Fleetwood Mac record here in Honolulu. He's got an ally with Dave Lawrence here on 105.9.
All right.
I'd be eager to do that. Finally, John, what's next on your plate?
Well, we're going to Australia on the 6th of February, and so we'll be there to do some festivals and club dates. And then in March, we'll all through March and April, we'll be in Europe doing that European tour.
Sounds
so
nice.
Quite a lot. I mean, we're pretty much well into the year already with the bookings.
You talk to Clapton much these days?
No, I haven't. I don't think too many people get to talk to him.
Plus, now he's like all hitched with that new woman from Ohio, right? So he's real busy.
Yeah. He's a family man now.
Exactly. He's tied up, as we say.
Yeah.
Thanks to John Mayall of the legendary John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. See him this Thursday, January 16th on Maui at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center in Kahului, and you heard him say maybe Mick Fleetwood jumping up on stage and certainly in the audience there. And then Friday the 17th here in town at the Hawaiian Hut on Atkinson behind the Ala Moana Hotel. It's 105.9, the Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. Thank you very much, John Mayall.
Yeah, and have your people check out johnmayall.com. They'll get all the news and current dates and every bit of information they could possibly need.
johnmayall.com.
There you go.
Very cool. You're a prince for spending so much time talking with me, man.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, this is John Mayall, and now you're going to hear my man Dave Lawrence spin you some discs, if that's the right interpretation.